Just squeezing one in. What's up, everybody? Answers by Guess, Season 8. This is episode 10. Just need to fix something really quickly. This is Answers with Guess. This is halftime adjustments. We're going to talk about, of course, there it is, week 5. And we're going to talk about the season as a whole and pretty much fantasy as a whole. So a few things have changed, and we kind of felt like maybe it was an anomaly. I believe it was 2 years ago, and then into last year. It's kind of how it's going. And based on a few of the questions, we got to talk about just battling and just continuing to just get through this. 1-4, 5-0. Very little difference in how you should approach week 6 based on those two records. There honestly really is. And in fact, if you're 1-4, which I know a lot of people are, with solid teams and you're putting up good points, you should feel pretty comfortable. Now, there are a couple people that posted, and we'll share them in a minute, where it's 1-4 and it's a ton of injuries and everything else. But if it's underperforming guys, and if it's even guys that are performing well, but you're just not getting it done, maybe you're going against somebody else, it's nothing to stress about. So let's talk about this. This is the wrong one. That's the right one. This is season 8, episode 10. I got 3 sad faces there as we open up. We're going to talk about our props and plays for the year. I believe that is Mr. Tyrone Tracy on the bottom, Roshan Johnson in the middle, and Chase Brown on the top. Why are they crying? Because the prop plays that I had for them, aside from Roshan was rushing, and the other 2 were centered around receiving, Chase Brown and Tyrone Tracy. But somehow Eric Gray got every receiving opportunity, and Zach Moss got every receiving opportunity. And Roshan again fell just a couple yards short of his extremely low total, while DeAndre Swift continues to get a ton. And listen, Swift was a guy I loved going into the season for the simple reason of they paid a lot of money for him. And he's finally putting it together. But these 3 plays right there, that's 5 losses. I mean, that makes it 43-20 if I hit those. And we're above the 67 mark, 67%. We're unfortunately below. And these 3 were just, they hurt me. They ruined my day on Sunday. Still up and was up. And last night killed it on Juju. He was 1.5 catches, and he was 19.5 yards. And I posted the 19.5 yards here. I took the 1.5 catches just before kickoff. I just had a feeling, and I looked at one thing, which was, I think it was like plus over 1,000, and it was like 79 yards. And I was like, that would be crazy. And I didn't take it. Should have taken it, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's when you regroup. That's when you accept and adapt. And I think that's a big part about this season going forward and fantasy football as a whole. And I think what we thought in years past, fantasy in general, football in general, Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, they play, they're going to get you the same exact pretty much results every single game. And the studs aren't doing that. And they haven't done that now for a couple years. And we've talked about for 8 seasons now ebbs and flows. Bad game, good game, couple bad, couple real good. It goes like that, and it does. But now it's affecting the top tier guys. I mean, Chris Olave last night, yeah, they were bracketing him and shutting him out. But there was a stigma, maybe not stigma, but a saying: "Start your studs." And I'm starting to accept the fact that yeah, you don't have to. And we've often here at Answers by Guests, Rob and I have often, thrown whatever to the wind and basically said that no, I know that's the better name. I know it seems better. Sit that guy. I think that as a whole, the fantasy community, and I'm talking about the guys that get paid to do this, have to start honestly being honest with themselves, and we do as well. That it's not always a given. And we've it seems like, yeah, we know this, guess, right? Yeah, obviously. But in the past, 3 years ago, and then to the beginning of time, it was always you just put your best guys out there. Now you have to just accept the fact that your best guys might not come through. And it's everybody. I mean, look at first round draft picks. Yeah, Jamar Chase has had 2 good games in a row. CD had a great beginning of the season once he got going, and then the other night, nothing. Amon Ra had the bye. He had a couple good weeks. He had a couple bad. Everybody else has stunk. It's just, I think a lot of us know this, but a lot of us aren't really accepting this. And I think it's important for people to realize the people that are 1-4 uh, or 5-0. It's not just you that has good guys that aren't doing good. I'm in 5 leagues. My worst 2 teams, the 2 teams that have 1-4 records, happen to be in my 2 most important leagues. I feel like to me, maybe the first and third. ABG league is maybe third. I feel like those are 2 of the better teams that I have, but they have the worst records, and it just doesn't make sense. And not a lot of it has to do with me always going against the higher scoring team. If that's the case, you got nothing to worry about. Sometimes your guys just don't perform. I mean, I had DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Debo Samuel as my 3 wide receivers in ABG. I think the highest guy had like 6 points. Bijan, nothing. So it's going around all around. It's not just you. Yeah, there might be teams that have a better record than you. Accept it, adapt, and battle. This is crucial right now, I think, for everybody. And I think it's important that we know we're not giving up. Nobody's giving up at all. And in the spirit of this, we're not going to despise anybody this week. There are certainly guys to despise. I would start with Derek Carr, who, by the way, now is going to be out multiple weeks. Time for my boy, Jungle Jake Hayner. I'm excited for that. I hope he does well. Got a lot of RPAs I'd like to build a little on. But in the spirit of accepting the fact that it's not the game that it used to be, it's really not. And reading a couple things from a couple people who are highly renowned in the industry, I feel like they are kind of starting to see that as well. Just from a couple guys, and just starting to see that it's not always going to be as easy as play the guy who's the best or even with the best matchup. And yes, I know you're saying, I know, guess I've been doing this for years. Guess you've been doing this for years. You should know this. We have to accept it. I don't think that we fully accept it. Reading some of the comments and some of the Patreon subscribers, DMs, and things, and they're frustrated with particular guys. It's just the nature of the game. It's not like it used to be. It's not. So, answers with guests, week 5.5. Let's get into it. Will this help? We'll see. I think Hackett was a big part of the problem. He's not going anywhere because he's tied into the guy on the right there. Um, I think he's a big part of the problem. I'm not sure it's going to help. This team was already good on defense. It's the offense that needed help. But what do? They go and make the interim coach the defensive coordinator. Way to jet. Way to jet. That's all I got to say. Defense is fine. You need offense. Let's party like it's 2022. Juju was a call for us. There will be a short. If you're a fan of the shorts that we've been putting out recently, I'm happy. If you haven't seen them yet, dig deeper. They're out there. But I had said Juju a week ago. Somebody asked a question about Kansas City. I said, I feel like a lot of people are going to immediately think Worthy, and then they're going to think, what, Watson? Am I thinking? I don't know. Mine's blank. I got a lot of stuff going on, but you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. And I said, but I think it's kind of going to be Juju. And then Rob and I did the recorded show on Friday. There was no live show. And I had mentioned, I was like, I think it's going to be Juju. He had a lot of success there in 2022. He's going into the slot, which was where they were playing Rashee Rice, and started off slow, but it exploded. And they got a bye week this week. And him and Ty Chandler, who was a 5 guy for your eye over the summer in July, because Aaron Jones was going to get hurt, was the reason I said go back and watch the video. I'm not Nostradamus. That was probably fairly easy to see what happened. It's happened for years in a row now. But with Ty Chandler and Juju probably being the top 2 waiver wire ads, and they both are on bye this week. So if you didn't grab them already or have Ty Chandler stashed as an Aaron Jones owner, you could grab them, but just know it's not helping your team this week. I'm becoming a fan of Bo Nix. He's not the most electric player. He's got decent weapons around him, but his tenacity, as you could see with the conversation he was having with Sean Payton, and the plays he's making with his legs, he does what he has to do with his arms. The defense is playing well enough against the competition that they're playing against. I'm becoming a fan of Bo Nix. And while all the love is quiet, well, not quietly, loudly on Jaden Daniels for rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, I think, is a sneaky contender to be even better. He's making a lot of throws that Daniels is not. And go back and watch some highlights. Daniels, a lot of his throws are real close and simple. And the receivers are doing work. The running backs are doing work. And I'm not taking anything away from them. But a lot of what Bo Nix is showing me, a little more mature, believe it or not. Go back and watch some highlights. I'm telling you, I checked out a few of it today before I did this. I'm becoming a fan. And speaking of rookie quarterbacks, Drake May is going to be starting. So we'll see how he looks for the Patriots. And hopefully he can make that offense look like an NFL offense. We shall see. It might be time to cook. Russ, might be time to cook. Our Justin Fields, who I love, our first 4-week darling. Well, according to coach, even the door is ajar for Russ to start. Now, when they took the practice field today, it looked like Fields was going to continue. It's just mostly kind of early preparations. Tomorrow will be the big day. It looked like Fields was going to continue to be the starter, but it might be time to cook. If you've been relying on Justin Fields, I highly recommend you find another option just in case. Drake May's definitely sitting out there. Bo Nix might be. The rewards likely will not be as bountiful as you were getting with Fields, but if Fields sits, you are going to get nothing. So just keep in mind that it might be Russ's time, or maybe you just pick up Russ. Till next time, Mr. Flacco. I think they're going to let Richardson start this week. And this is an until next time to Joe. This is an until next time to Downs. This is an until next time to Pittman. Until next time to Pierce. Until next time for A.D. Mitchell. Until we see Richardson throw the ball downfield well, as we get into our preparations to battle for week 6, if we have Colts players, we are rooting for Joe Flacco to start at least one more. And I think that that's obvious to us all at this point. CJ, any chance you want to check something down? Anybody notice all he wants to do is throw the ball deep? Anybody? I realize we only got a couple people watching. Nobody knew what time I was going live. I didn't know. I'm just trying to fit it in where I can to get this out to you. All he wants to do is throw the ball deep. No check downs. Dalton Schultz, it's nice having you there. I'll wave to you. The ball will wave to you as it sails over your head. Check the ball down. And now Nico's out. Tank Dell, I've been pumping him up for weeks. This probably is the week. Tank Dell. I don't see why not. Yeah, they're going against the Patriots. You could beat the Patriots deep. Christian Gonzalez is going to be on Diggs. This is your Tank Dell week. But I would love for CJ Stroud to dump something down. And for that, I gave him a sophomore slump. His stats were not terrible, but my gosh, he almost gave the game away. The team almost gave the game away again. You got to be more well-rounded. And how quick did people fall off at his train to jump on Jaden Daniels? I think I talked about that on Saturday. Bounce back next week against the Patriots. You should be able to do well against them, but let's have some sustained drives with some checkdowns or at least some 10-yard passes. That'd be good. Everybody see who that is? That's Jordan Love. Riding the roller coaster with Jordan Love. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's terrible. What are you doing? Falling in the end zone, chucking the ball up to a guy at the 5-yard line so that he could crawl into the end zone for a pick 6. What are you doing? When he's good, we love him. He's the best. He rules. When he sucks, it seems like nobody wants to point that out. He's already gotten the Green Bay quarterback treatment. And I'm a Green Bay fan. But it's like whatever Rodgers would do bad. It's like, whatever Brett Favre would do bad. Gunslinger. He's a lot like Brett Favre. He's a little more like Brett Favre. I talked about it last year, beginning of the season. He's not very accurate. Dontavian Wicks should have caught 2 of those balls that he chucked up deep to him. Right both through his hands. It was absolutely disgusting and terrible to see. But he was not good. He did not look good. The touchdowns to Tucker Kraft, the first one where he ran for like 60, 70 yards. He was just bulldozing people. People were falling all down all around him. It was nice to see. Hopefully we get to put another tight end into our tight end circus, so to speak. Pick them up. Why not? They got to buy, I think, like week 10 or 11 or so. Yeah, sure. He's definitely better than Musgrave at this point. Musgrave's been banged up, but we'll see, because in a couple of weeks, we'll be maybe talking about Musgrave and how much better he looks once he gets healthy. But the wide receivers for Green Bay is going to be a headache all year. Dubs will be back this week. It'd be interesting. I kind of got the feeling that, like, they might trade Romeo. But they're not too big on trading away talent, and if they trade for anything, usually they'll get one superstar a la Reggie White way back in like 96 or whatever it was. It's like one little thing here or there. They're not too big at that, but I think Dobbs not being in there, I think, hurts Jordan Love, whether he gets a ton of targets or not. I think him not being in the game hurts the offense. He's the best wide receiver they have. And I think a lot of people took a licking with their fab budgets last week, taking Wicks because he did nothing. Wicks filled into the Watson role. The Watson role hasn't been great all year. It's Reed is the number one, and Dubs is the glue. And I did hit with the Josh Jacobs touchdown, so that was nice. Barely. That was nice. Still leaving that there. It's absolutely despicable. They have so much money into him, they can't bench him. But even with Jameis Winston, it can't be this bad. So look at those 5 guys for your eyes. A couple new ones on there. Ty Chandler, Leggett, Roshan, Whittington. I'm putting him on there, even though he's going on a bye. He's been solid every week. Tank Bigsby killing it. Love it. A lot of these guys were in July, man. This is a layup because I didn't have him on last week. It's a layup, and you really can't use him next week. And he's going to be the number one picked up all over the place. It's going to be him and Ty Chandler. And if Tank is somehow still out there, it's going to be him. It's a layup. We're running out of guys, and I don't want to just give you a name if I honestly don't feel like they're going to be good. So there's little explanation here. He's in the Rashee Rice role. He deserves to be on the list. Your eyes are already on him. Congrats. Dylan Lobb for the Raiders. Had a little preseason hype going around him. Zamir White's hurt. He's been terrible. They cannot continue to use Madison and what's his face, Amir Abdullah in this manner. It's time to get Lobb into some games and give him some burn. They love him in the clubhouse. Let's see what he's got. If this team is ready to just get rid of Crosby, get rid of Adams, switch quarterbacks, it's time to get the rookie running back in there and see what he's got. You got to put your eyes on this guy. I'm sure you've heard the name. If you haven't, there you go. Xavier Hutchinson, I already said before, Nico Collins is out. I like this guy his rookie year. I would like for it to be John Mechie here, but I just have a feeling every time I think it's going to be Mechie, it's always Hutchinson. So I went with Hutchinson. If you're desperate and dying at wide receiver, he's worth a shot because I think Collins is going to be out at least a week or two. Mason Tipton, I talked about him with Rob on the recorded show we did last Friday. If you watched the game last night, you saw him get a few targets. Now, here's the important part. That's why he's so high on the list. Number 2, Jungle Jake Hayner. No Derek Carr. Jake Hayner's coming in the game. He's going to be the starter more than likely. Hopefully, should be. He was the first one in the game last night. He did not look terrible. Chris Olave should have caught that ball. It was a beautifully thrown ball at the end of the game. Beautifully thrown ball right through his hands. He put it in the only place you could have put it to get it to the wide receiver and not intercepted. It was beautiful. It was perfect throw right through Olave's hands. Probably because Olave wasn't used to catching passes because he didn't do that all night. But Jungle Jake Hayner, number 2, was with the practice squad. Guess where Mason Tipton was? Rob, you would like this call. I'm thinking Mason Tipton, they are dying for a solid number 2. Yeah, they got Shaheed, but he has one game. And when that one game comes through, it's beautiful, like last night. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Now, I don't know how many deep shots like that they're going to take with Mr. Hayner. That's why I think a more sure-handed route running wide receiver like Mason Tipton might be a sneaky pickup for people this week. So if you don't know the name, now you do. And number 1, Levante Turpin, Jalen Tolbert. I gave you his name in July. I do not think, and this is, I hate the term hot take. This might be viewed as such. I don't think the Brandon Cooks being out had anything to do with Jalen Tolbert at all. They don't even play the same position at all. And Jalen Tolbert had been playing as the third wide receiver, and in my mind, the second, and Cooks was the third. Cooks is gone. Turpin has been playing Cook's position. So I think he is a sneaky ad this week. because I think that he is going to fill the Cooks role and do better than Cooks was doing. Cooks seems like he's 64 years old. I think he's still like 26 or 27. It seems like he's been in the league forever. Maybe he's older than that, but he's below 30. But he seems like he's been in the league for 30 years. But Levante Turpin, he's actually the one that is playing Cooks's position and Cooks's role in the offense, not Jalen Tolbert. Tolbert's big game, he actually wasn't doing too great until the big touchdown at the end. And I love him. I loved him all year. I loved him last year. He was a 5 guy for your eye last season for me, before really anybody knew who he was. Now he's finally getting the chance. He's the 2, but I think Turpin is the one that has taken Cooks's role. He's a name and a guy you should look at. Is I think he's younger. He can do the same things Cooks can do at this point in Cooks' career, and maybe even a little better. So keep your eye on him. Thursday night football, San Francisco at Seattle. 2 teams coming off of heartbreaking losses for each of them. Well, maybe more heartbreaking for the Niners because they had that game. Seattle's probably just embarrassed by it. These guys here, I got one of my kids coming down the stairs, I think, but Debo is a guy, and this is what I think I'm going to do for these Thursday games is put guys on here that I'm sort of looking at for prop plays, because Debo, he's got the name value, right? So Vegas puts his numbers a little higher than most people. But he has been so low that I think that Vegas is going to knock his numbers down a little bit, his props down a little bit. It might be time to attack it. We had a big AU week last week. I think that Debo, it's his time to shine on Thursday night. So I'll be checking those out. Again, if I play him, I'll make a post so you know. But he's what I'm looking at. The other one is Zach Charbonnet. Now, I could very easily put Kenneth Walker on here because Walker didn't do anything last game either. And you want to know who the highest played player in DFS was last week? Kenneth Walker. Why? People reacted to what he did 2 weeks ago, said, oh, he's playing the Giants. He must be going to do the same exact thing again. This just fits into how I opened up the show. Ebbs and flows is what we've been preaching for years, for 8 years now. It is so much more prevalent now than ever. And the fact that big name guys aren't always going to do it like they used to do it. And we need to really accept that. And a lot of people got burned in DFS last week. Spent up for Kenneth Walker, did nothing. You know who also did nothing? Charbonnet. You know who Vegas is going to give higher totals to, whether it's catches or yards or carries. They're going to give higher ones to Walker still. His are going to drastically drop. So these are the 2 guys I'm looking at for plays. That's what I'm targeting this year, just like I did last night with Juju, just like I did with Jalen Tolbert and Sunday night, had him as a play. Turpin would have been a great play if I would have looked into it further. But that's sort of where I'm targeting. So look for a play possibly from these 2 guys. Let's get into this. Questions from the Facebook group. I see there's a couple comments. We'll get to those in a second. I haven't even looked at them. Antonio wanted to know for this week, Keenan Allen or Juwan Jennings, PPR. I'm going Keenan Allen. I got to refresh my memory on who Chicago's playing this week because I don't remember by heart, but we know that, Jags. Yeah. So he's at home against the Jags, and that's just about, it's just possession. I think the Jags offense is woken up, so to speak, and Ingram probably will play next week. So that's even better for Keenan Allen because Jags should be able to move the ball a little more. I think this is a no-brainer, Antonio, and I even answered this on the page. Michael said he just lost Jake Moody. Who do I pick up? McLaughlin or Seibert? I picked up Seibert in two leagues last week, and I'm happy with the results. The offense looks good. The defense looks pretty good. They've held a couple teams to really low scoring who should have been able to put up points, but the defense really, in all reality, is not great on the back end. So they will give up points eventually. It'll keep Washington having to score. He's looked good. They picked him up, I think, after week one. Um, and he's been solid. I'm going with Cyber. I'm going with who I chose to pick up out of these two guys in two leagues before last week. Can't read this, but Scott says he's already toast. He says it's 1-4. He's toast. Changed his team name to Injured Reserves. He dropped Rice. He's playing scrubs, Cup and Mixons. When will they play football again? I think Cup will be back week 7. Can't really see the team, but it looks like is that Fields? If it's Fields, I already talked about him. You're probably going to want to find a new QB. But I do remember looking at this team and listen, Scott, if you've been watching it all, you're not toast. You're not. What do we play? 14 weeks, right? It's very feasible, plausible that you wind up 10-4. Why is that out of the question? Why is 9-5 out of the question? All you need to do is get in the playoffs. You don't need to be the first place team. That's another problem that a lot of people that I talk to at work, I talk to coworkers, fellow teachers, and my team, they suck. This, that, all the way in the bottom. Who cares? 6 teams get in, right? Yeah. All you need to do is get to 6th. That's it. You don't need to win the regular season. You got to get in. Build the team, keep battling, and push through. I'm 1-4 in my 2. I said it before, at least 2 out of my 3 most important leagues. And those 2 teams, I think that they're of the most solid. I'm not worried at all because I'm just going to keep battling. 5 weeks from now, if you're sitting at 2-8, all right. So now we just play spoiler. Is way too soon. Way too soon. Scott, you are not toast. You're in the right place. Would you drop Zach Moss for Singletary or Bigsby? I would have weeks ago, and I know Josh just doesn't answer your question, but I would have drafted even or picked up before week 1 Bigsby before Moss, just because I was high in Bigsby. I was high in Bigsby last year. It didn't work out. He was a 5 guy for your eye again. Rob loved it. Go back and watch the AFC South. He's like, oh, your boy from last year. I'm like, listen, he's going to be back. He understands the game now. He's motivated. Things are going to work out. ETN's still the number 1 there. But every time Bigsby gets on the field, he's busting through, and he's got speed and he's got power. He's a tank. And I love him. And I loved him coming out. And he had a red shirt year last year, and he's doing things. And Chase Brown is better than Moss. And Tyrone Tracy was my number 1 favorite 5 guy for your eye in July, this summer, in the preseason. Singletary's still a little banged up, probably going to be back next week. So the job will go back to him. People will pick up Tracy, but the job will go back to Singletary, I think. Maybe Tracy earns some more touches, but that doesn't help. I'm taking Bigsby. If you said you could have any one of these 3 for the rest of the year, which one do you want? Bigsby. So would I drop Zach Moss for Bigsby? Yes. I'm getting too old. Is CEH worth dropping for Juju? Yeah, if you need wide receivers. Sure. I'd keep CEH right on my IR. If you don't have IR, Keith, drop him for Juju, I guess. Hunt looks good back there. Yeah, but they're also are looking like they want to run Hunt into the ground. He's kind of old. I mean, he's not like that old, but he's been banged up. He's been around, and he's taken poundings in seasons and missed a good amount of time. And they are running him hard and a lot. It would not surprise me if at some point Hunt goes down and CEH is the guy to own there. Hunt looks good. I'm not disagreeing. But how long will that last? worries me a little. But if you need a wide receiver, that's a no-brainer, I think. Because your RBs are Bijan, B-Rob, Chubb. We'll see when he looks back. Algier is only as good as so. You kind of need a running back, but there's might be some other guys out there, Lob, Vidal, who people have forgotten about, but we know what's going to happen eventually for the Chargers. So he's someone to keep an eye on. So if you need wide receiver help, there you go. I'm fine with that. Other league, he has Aaron Jones. Should I drop CH for Chandler? Same thing. You got Bijan, Mason, Chase Brown. Yeah, I would do that. Why not? And you need to get a league. Tell your commissioner get an IR spot. I think you need to do that. And Keith said, I'm not the one that's asking, but he definitely dropped CH for almost anyone. I'm not quite in that boat, Randy, because I think he will have value. I think it's the hunt show until it's not. And unless they bring somebody else in, CH is sitting on my IR spot where I have him. William, you started 0-4 one season, lost the championship. Beautiful. Yes, exactly. And 0-4 is worse than 1-4. So if you're sitting there at 1-4, you are nowhere near done. You continue to battle. You continue to do your research. You continue to watch Answers by Guests. You continue to talk to the ABG family. You continue to go other places and see what they're saying. You continue to do your own research, looking up your own players, watching your own highlights and replays of the game. I'm telling you, you get a lot of information that way. You can fast forward till the guy you want to look at's on the field. There's actually some guys I've seen that you could just watch every single one of their plays. Excuse me. You're not done. Nobody's done. If you're 5-0 and you're sitting on top, and I see a comment there, Keith Kennedy on the page, lonely at the top. Do not get too cocky if that's you. I'm telling you now. Things can change on a heartbeat. And William pointed out exactly what had happened to him. 0-4 to the championship game. And that's it. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, he could be. I think Jungle Jake Hayner is better. But yeah, it's a chance. I'm hoping for Hayner. If I were the Saints, I would start Hayner. He's at least got a year under his belt. And if he goes off the rails, that's when you bring in the rookie. But we'll see. Better play Jaden versus Ravens or Dak versus Lions. Wide receiver for the rest of the season, Mooney or Wandale. Let's look at the first one and read the rest of this. I don't like Jaden versus the Ravens. I'm going back and forth with him and Kyler myself this week. Probably going to go Kyler. The Lions defense looked like just before the bye that they kind of picked it up a little bit going against the Seahawks. I know they were letting the Seahawks score, but they forced them into some things. Coming off the bye, going against Dallas. I think I'm going to lean Dak on a Tuesday in this, Tim, and just hope he can build on it playing at home. I think this is going to be one of Jaden Daniels' toughest things that he's gone up against. I know that Joe Burrow did well against them last week, but they did pretty well the week before that against Josh Allen. So I'm going to go Dak on a Tuesday. If you want, when Rob and I go live for the weekend, you can ask this one again. I'd love to see where my head's at on that by then. Wide receiver for the rest of the season, Mooney or Wandale. I'm going to go Mooney, and I'm going to be the first to admit I was wrong, and shame on me. And shame on me is the reason because I loved him as a rookie and second-year guy in Chicago. And all of a sudden he went to Atlanta, and I was just sort of like, I don't really care about him anymore. And I should have known better. I would go Mooney. I think a lot of his stuff has been fluky, but there's been a lot of it that hasn't been, and Kirk Cousins really likes him. And um, I just think that with them moving Drake London to the slot, we saw how much better that makes their offense last week. How much better it makes for Drake London, Mooney operating on the outside and the deep plays. I'm going to go with Mooney. I think. I think full point PPR. You'll have more catches, more than likely, with Mr. Robinson. But I would go Mooney if somebody said you have to pick one the rest of the season for your team. That's what I'm going with. You'd be dropping Wicks for one of the two if you're able to say. See, here's the problem, Tim. People went nuts for Wicks last week, and he disappointed. And if he catches two balls that were right in his hands, nobody's even asking any questions about Wicks this week. They're like, yeah, me. Yeah, I'm awesome. Right? But he had a bad game. So now people are like rushing the waiver wire to get him last week. And now we just want to dump him to pick up somebody who had a good week this week. Those stats are gone. Now, I'm not saying Mooney can't continue to have solid games, but he had 2 touchdowns, almost had 3. So it's like, oh, we must have him. Maybe we just pump our brakes a little bit. Maybe we just relax and we keep Wicks. Now, who would I rather have, Mooney or Wicks, the rest of the season? Because has a more shallow competition around him. It's London, it's Pitts, and whatever running backs they really want to throw around versus Green Bay, where it's 4 or 5, up to 6 guys. I'd probably rather have Mooney, but I'm not so sure I'm ready to throw Wicks back out there. We've seen what he can do when it connects. If you got somebody else to drop, okay. If Wicks is the worst in your mind, not just off last week, you got to take the 1 week out of it. Look at it as a whole. I'd be okay with dropping Wicks for Mooney. Defense, you're going with Philly. I love the Philly play this week. If we can't get what D matchups, but I love the Philly one this week. Houston's defense has played better than their fantasy numbers have looked, and they're going against New England. It's going to be against the rookie Drake May. Their fantasy numbers haven't been great because they've been blowing leads at times, and their offense is keeping the defense on the field too much because Stroud just wants to chuck the ball downfield all the damn time. So if he sustains some lengthy drives, gives that defense a rest. I really like Houston this week. I kind of like the Chargers this week. Let me just double check that. I have a feeling that I do. The Bucks, I guess, becomes one. Yeah, I kind of like the Chargers. I know I talked up Bo Nix, but I kind of like them. But Philly's the one. If you can go with Philly, you get Philly. But those are also good ones. Wicks, very disappointing. Yeah, he's disappointing for sure. But he had 2 chances to add basically 70 plus yards to his total. And who knows if he would have broke free on one. He was about 12 yards away on one of them from catching it and wrestling one guy off and getting in the end zone. So it's very close. You know, the oldest adage is football's a game of inches. And Jordan Love wasn't great. He really wasn't. Excuse me. Sorry. But you don't give up. It's an ebb and a flow. You rush to get him. You spent fab to get him. I'm not so quick to drop him this week. And that's another thing. If you've been holding on to a guy, this is any league, or maybe you picked up a guy a couple weeks ago and you really haven't been holding him, you just picked him up just to see maybe he's a 5 guy for your eye. And you're kind of like, I need something else. It's never a bad idea. And I've mentioned this, I think, for 2 or 3 seasons of Answers by Guests in a row. It's never a bad idea to throw them out there. Throw them out, pick something else up. Because if you're worried that somebody else might pick him up, sometimes that's not as bad as it sounds. because in order for them to pick him up, they have to drop somebody. And it's always possible that maybe they drop somebody that maybe you wish that you were able to pick up before. And now you have the chance. So, kind of like a little bit of a bait and catch game. Sometimes you got to just put a little bit of chum out there and see if somebody will come circling around. If they snatch it up, they have to leave something behind. And that might be the treasure. So keep that in mind. Don't feel like you have to hold on to somebody always. If you feel it in your gut, I'm going to let him go. Somebody's going to take him, but I really need this other guy. Okay, do it. Get the other guy. Somebody else comes to take him. See what they drop. Maybe that's even better than the guy you picked up. Downs is also on the wire. I got a feeling a few league mates will make many transactions. Probably. And it's going to continue that way. I'm going to leave Downs. I'm going to leave Downs. I would like him on my team. He's been great. It's been with Flacco. If it goes back to Richardson, it just stinks. I want to see it with Richardson. If he's on my team, I'm holding him. But I'm not going nuts to get him. If it's Fab, I'm not spending a ton, even though his production has warranted it. And I'm not going to drop somebody who could be beneficial to me to pick him up. Just because of his production, because that all goes away if Flacco goes away, or it doesn't have to. It's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility. He had the opportunity to pick up Downs in Wandale, but took Wicks instead. He got lucky, so that's all that matters. That's all that matters. It's okay. You didn't. Carr wasn't really doing anything. He had the one play to Shaheed. It was terrible otherwise. They were bracket, double, triple covering Olave. Juwan Johnson was like the only other person that did much of anything, and he had like 4 or 5 or however many he had, like 4-yard catches. I would have did the same exact thing if I knew Flacco was starting last week. If I knew 100%, I probably would have went with Downs over Wicks for a pickup. It looks like it's going to be Richardson this week. So if it was this week and these 3 guys, I'm picking up Wicks. A lot of people are probably going to drop off Wicks. Drop them. And if they drop them and you got a spot, I think it's worth a pickup. Christian Watson is still injured. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed for Green Bay. Nothing's changed for Wicks. He will even be better with Dobbs playing because Romeo Dobbs is the glue for that passing team. He's another body that people need to worry about. It's going to open it up for Wicks. Wicks is somebody I'll look at when the props come out. I'll tell you that much. Because if he's sitting at like 2.5, that's probably going to be a slam dunk. You won 7 in a row last year when you started 0-3, made the playoffs. You still have a shot. That's right. So Tim with the same thing that I think William said before. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's way too early to give up on anything. Yeah, I had mentioned that. The return of Drake Mays is worth picking up. Surely we would think so. Because, I mean, Michael, you or I could probably, I won't downplay how good he is. So I won't even make a joke and say that you and I could go out there and do better than Jacoby Brissett because we know for a fact that we would not. But he was not good. He was not good. He almost had the touchdown at the end there to win the game. But will they be better? I don't know. I hope that they will. Is it worth picking up? I don't know. Are you in a spot where if you're in a 2-quarterback league or a super flex, yeah. Well, you're in 1-quarterback league. I doubt you had been playing Derek Carr every week when he's been terrible the past 2. Unless you were a Derek Carr and Justin Fields owner and everybody else owns 2 or 3 quarterbacks, I can't see a reason why we would have to rush. I don't think people are going to be picking up Drake May. I think you can wait and see. If you have a bench spot that you've been messing around with, sure. Me personally, I have 2 quarterbacks on just about every team. 2 of the teams have Justin Fields. I'm not going to be starting Justin Fields this week, even if Russell Wilson is named the starter, I'm not going to drop Justin Fields to pick up Drake May before I see him in action. I'm just not. Is it worth a shot in case he comes out and he's a world beater? Yes. But I would not drop anything that you might be able to use for Drake May. Because at the best, he's going to be a backup quarterback on your team, a bye week fill-in. Maybe look at who the Patriots play when your starting quarterback is on bye. If it looks favorable, then now it's an even better pickup. Like if he's playing against like Jacksonville or Cincinnati, I don't even know if they play them two this year, but defenses like that, or Washington, where they have a terrible secondary. If you're playing teams like that, when you're starting quarterbacks on bye, okay, now I'll pick him up. And if he's good, now I know I have a good bye week replacement. This is the time of the year where you have to start looking at, okay, when are my guys going to be on bye? What guys could I pick up and who do they play that week? Because I'm not going to pick up a guy who's going against the Steelers or Baltimore when I could pick up somebody who's going against the Colts or the Jags if they're on the same level. I'll take the matchup over the name. Yeah, a lot of people do that. Yes and no. And I'm talking about the last thing. I got to stop worrying so much. Yes and no. The problem is we as humans, we get in our own heads. We do. And sometimes we're staring at this thing and we just have to put it down and just walk away and just be like, fine. If for the 20 minutes I can bear to not look at my fantasy team, somebody picks up that guy I've been staring at for the past 3 days, then so be it. So it was meant to be. You'll know when it's right. And maybe all those transactions felt right to you, Tim. Maybe you felt like I got to make these. I got to do it. But we always talk about everybody's droppable, so long as what you're picking up is going to be better for your team. And it's the same thing with pickups. Don't pick up a guy, and if you get 0 returns on him the next week, don't drop him. There was a reason you picked him up, and you didn't start him, or if you did, you had him sitting there. You thought in your heart, in your mind, he's going to be good. I need him. And after 1 week, he didn't give it to you. Throwing him away is one of the worst mistakes that we make, but it's how we are as humans. We get in our head and we think, that was wrong, stupid, throw it away. And then what happens the next week? He goes off. So just, slow down. The worrying is natural. But you're battling. It's time to start battling everybody else. Don't battle yourself so much. So stand pat. Kendre Miller, what's your opinion on him being a roster spot? Well, he was a 5 guy for your eye this summer, Charlie. Problem is he couldn't get healthy and was supposed to be active for the game and still just wasn't healthy enough. There's been rumors about him being traded. I've loved Kendre Miller since the beginning of last season when he was a rookie, and he didn't amount to too much and got hurt. And he's always hurt. The obvious chance of Kamara getting hurt, that's probably going to happen. He'll miss at least 1 game, I'm sure. Kendre Miller, this is why I love leagues with IR spots. He's a perfect. I pick him up, put him on my IR, pick somebody else up. I love him. The coaching staff does not. And a lot of that has to do with them being annoyed that he can't get healthy. But I really am a big fan of Kendre Miller. And I think he was a 5 guy for your eye this summer. And I feel like if he was healthy this summer, we would have seen him this summer. And he'd probably be owned and have been getting burned for these first 5 weeks. But he's just got to get healthy. And once he gets on the field, people are going to start picking him up for sure because we're getting to mid October. This is mid October, mid December. This is when those running backs dry up. So yeah, definitely worth the spot. He would have been a 5 guy for your eye last week at least, but he was over the summer, and I will not double dip and say a guy's name twice. That's why you always got to go back and look at the old ones, or take out one of these bad boys and write it down. Write down all the 5 guys for your eyes. Started 0-2, now 3-2. Snagged first in my division. Looked at Kraft a few times before picking up Otten on Thursday. Yeah, and Otten was fine. He was fine. I felt bad for Baker that game. They deserve to win. I feel like he kind of outplayed Cousins until the end. And everybody knows I love Baker. But that's good. You won 3 in a row. 0-2. You won 3 in a row. Winning 3 in a row is not hard. You just have to have the cards fall right. We can pick up all the right guys, and once we put it out there, it's all out of our control. We can't beat ourselves up over it. We can just prepare for it. And the way you prepare is just keep battling, keep watching, keep listening, keep analyzing, keep looking stuff up, and you'll be fine. 0-2 didn't feel good, but I'm sure 3-2 feels pretty damn good. I knew you were a big fan of Adam Stash last year, but everything you said was 100% accurate. I believe you're talking about Kendre Miller. Yeah. I like him. So we'll see. Is he worth Stash? Yeah. If you have an IR spot, 100%. And as a Browns fan, I wish they had bigger. I don't know why they ever got rid of him. I mean, I do know the stories and whatnot. He had a raw deal. I'm very happy for him. I hope it continues in Tampa, and I really like what I'm seeing. So I do have a few people watching, but if there are no more questions, I got on early tonight to try and get this done early. I very much dislike it. I'm not tooting my own horn because really, I'm a guy in the basement with some intuition that pays off sometimes. But I do feel bad when I can't get on, or Rob and I can't get on and share at least our feelings, our thoughts, our insights with you all, because I know at least some people look forward to at least watching. So I feel bad if I can't. And when I have a busy night or a lot of things to do to get ready for tomorrow, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit it in. And I put the post out there, and I was like, now I feel bad. I got to try and go. So I put the show together and figured I'd get on. So, yeah, let me say this one. We appreciate you as well, Charlie. Yeah, this is a hobby for us, and we just hope it helps. We get nothing out of it other than the sheer joy. Michael says Browns fan too. Yeah, that's the one that makes no sense. That's the one that makes no sense. They didn't even give him a phone call. They just let him walk away. All right. Yeah, so that's not bad. Hawkinson will be back week 7, more than likely. Which one would you drop? Kraft? Goddard's already had his bye. Why do you have to drop any? If you have them all, why do you have to drop them? That's what I want to know. Yeah, I get it. I don't want to have 3 tight ends. Well, why not? What if Hawkinson gets re-injured again? Goddard's numbers are going to go down because Brown and Devonta Smith are going to be back. He's had his success the last 2 weeks they played because those 2 weren't there. When those 2 come back, Goddard's numbers are going to go way down again. Now, I'm not going to toot Kraft's horn and say he's a world beater. He got a lucky touchdown and 2-point conversion 2 weeks ago at the end of the game when they were in catch-up mode, which was also a lot of Dontavian Wick's big output, which I talked about in the Friday recorded show with Rob. And then last week's 2, one was he just caught the ball and just guys were just falling all around him. It was crazy run. Kudos to him. And the other one, he caught it and punched his way in and just got in over the goal line. But he got a ton of other catches as well. I'm not going to expect that every week from him. I think I would hold on to all 3 at least for now because Hawkinson's on bye. There's no reason. And then we just wait and we see how we feel. Ask the question on Saturday or whatnot when we do our show. Who should I play, Goddard or Kraft? We'll give you an answer, see how they do, and then go from there. So I would wait if you can wait. And I don't see why you couldn't, especially if Hawkinson's on your IR. Yes, same with me. All right. Have a good night, man. Thanks for joining us. Mentioned this last week. The Browns need to bench Watson. Yeah, I said that a few minutes ago. Are you here? You must be in and out. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know why they don't. They won't be any worse. I tell you that much. They won't be any worse. One win so far. They're the worst kind of 1-4. You're talking about how you shouldn't have to worry when you're 1-4. The Browns should worry at 1-4. Yes, that's a good way to end the show, I think. So I do have to get upstairs as well, help to get the kids to bed, much like Tim. I'm glad that a bunch of you joined tonight. I'm glad that there were some live comments. I'm glad I did this. Glad I fit it in. Again, it's becoming a Tuesday staple for me, and I'm gonna do it whenever I can and whenever you'll come. And hopefully it helps. Rob and I will most likely be live on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. And I'll be posting about those Thursday night props, whichever ones I'm going to play. Thanks for joining us. Good luck this week. Do not give up. It is time to battle. That's all it is. 0-5 doesn't matter. Battle.